Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence. Today I wanted to give myself a little bit of retrospective advice to my sort of 17-year-old self. At 17 I was just coming out of college for creative media studies. I didn't really know what I wanted to do in the world. I didn't really know what my career was going to be. I didn't know what my future looked like. And you start off and you think like you've got so much ahead of you. And then as your years go by, I'm not saying like as if I'm old, I'm only 25, but like I'm no longer 17, I'm nearly a decade into my adulthood now. And I just sort of thought it would be good to sort of try and figure out what I would say to that version of myself. If like he just came around the corner and he said, "Oh, future Josh, what wisdom can you give unto me?" And so the first one I would sort of say is, don't worry so much. Just keep trying to like find new little jobs, just do new little things, say yes to all the opportunities that you're going to say no to, because even if they don't lead anywhere, they're going to be an experience and they're going to be something that you can take with you into the future. Then I would probably say sort of focus on getting that camera sort of first, stop using the sort of equipment that you're borrowing off other people, because you can't do much with it because you're so scared to actually break it or to use it in the wrong way or anything like that. So you end up limiting yourself. And I'd just say to him, like, look, even if it's just your phone is a good camera, it's a good enough camera. Like this phone here, say it's basically the same phone that I had back then, but just a newer model. But even back then it had 15 megapixel, whatever, it did 1080p, did all the stuff that's required. You see so many people that film on their phones and you can turn it into a style, even if it looks a little bit lo-fi, you can make that into something like, these videos aren't my best looking videos, but they're the ones that seem to have popped off because I think people engage with the content that's inside these videos. So that's what I would say, is just make engaging stuff and stop trying to be such an artiste. That's what I was always trying to do back then. I was trying to say something profound, and I didn't have anything profound to say. And I think most 17-year-olds think they have something profound to say, and basically every single one of those 17-year-olds is wrong because they don't have enough life experience. They haven't been through anything that they haven't been through enough hardship, or maybe they've been through some hardship, but they haven't figured out how to extrapolate lessons from it yet, and they're still finding their own way. And I would just say, just make stuff about what you know rather than trying to learn about something that you don't, because you'll figure that stuff out anyway through life, and life will just teach you these lessons and you can apply those lessons to your creative works. Because I was always going to go into making stuff, even if I never found an audience, even if I never found anyone. I have a drive to make stuff and just to create shit. And I know that's very pretentious to say, "Ooh, I always had a drive, I always wanted to create," and it's like, oh, shut the fuck up. But I did, I actually did. Ever since I was a kid, I was writing these little novels that I would give into the library and stuff like that, and I'd bound them in little bits of string, and then I would hand it off to the library and say, "Can you put this on the bookshelf, please?" And then they put it on the bookshelf, and probably stayed there for a few months, and then they got rid of it. Which is fair enough, because those books were a load of shit. They were written by a 7-year-old. I mean, what can you expect? But yeah, what else would I say to 17-year-old me who is coming into the future? Don't drink, don't smoke, all the basic stuff like that. Everyone knows not to do that, but when you're 17, it's very easy to make that stuff feel like it's cool, and the people who don't engage with that stuff aren't cool, they're squares, and it's no, they're not. They're just as cool as you, they're just as interesting as you, they have just as much to say as you. I think everyone pretty much has just as much to say as everyone else. It's just whether they have the capacity or the confidence to. And some people can't do this whole going out into the middle of nowhere and talking shit for 10 minutes, and some people can, and some people can't, but they'll try anyway. And that's fine. Everyone should give it a go. And even if they find out it's not for them, I think you should give this a go. And that's another thing I would say to my 17-year-old self, is start doing these videos earlier. And I think actually that's leading into what I wanted to say to my 17-year-old self, who was working on this thing called Morrison Productions, and I did a lot of these really crappy video essays, kind of meme-y, piss-takey sort of things. I did one about the secret of the sugar cubs, and how the sugar cubs, they're these little Facebook stickers, right? I had it there was this grand conspiracy. They came to Earth, and the CIA was experimenting on them and doing all kinds of crazy shit, satanic sort of stuff. And I did one about the crying with laughter emoji, and like how that was like a curse upon humanity, and like how they're infesting everyone, and if you get infected by it, it's like you've been bitten by a zombie virus. And I did stuff like that, and I gave them up because I took a job in a fucking warehouse, and I would say to myself, like, you know, just keep making them, just don't stop. Like, I feel like I ran out of ideas and I stopped because of that. But I would say to them, like, who cares if you've run out of ideas? You'll get some new ideas. But if you sit and do nothing, waiting for the new ideas to come, you will have lost the groove. And I tried to do it again a couple of months later, and I had lost the groove, and I made 3 videos, and then I stopped again. And then a few months after that, I made another 3 videos, and I stopped again. But I was starting to develop a semi-audience. It wouldn't have grown nearly as fast as this, but if I had stuck with it, I could have like probably gotten monetized. And you know, even if I was only making like £20 a month or whatever off it, that's like a phone bill covered or something like that. That's your transport to and from work for like a week sorted, you know? And that would have been pretty nice. And it would have given me a drive to keep making more stuff, and probably I would have expanded and my development as a creative a lot faster, and probably been in a much better position now if I hadn't given up. So yeah, don't give things up like that. Like, I had a lovely little community, and I forgot about it, and I just didn't keep it up. I didn't engage with it enough, and that's why I'm so dedicated to doing the one video day thing. And like, until New Year's Day, like a few days ago, I was doing it twice a day. And I was so dedicated to doing it twice a day, and I don't want to ever stop or miss a day, because I learned my lesson from the fact that I failed with that Morrison production thing. I could have developed something, and I didn't. You know, what else would I sort of say? You know, you'll feel depressed sometimes. You'll always feel down. You'll always get yourself down. You'll feel like the world's on top of you. You feel like you don't know where to go. And a nice little motto that I like is, it's from The Exorcist, and then Mark Kermode, the reviewer, likes to say it a lot. It says, everything will always be all right in the end, and if it's not all right, it's not the end. And to me, that is like the ethos of my existence. Is like, sometimes things are sort of shit, you know, sometimes things don't work out for you, sometimes things are just kind of crap, but it's only temporary. And even if the nice times are only a mini oasis, cherish those nice times, because you know they're not always going to be there. Like, and then eventually, like, once you get to that end, right, and everything feels good, then a new story will begin, and you know, it won't be the end anymore, and you won't feel content anymore. Like, right now, I feel the happiest that I've ever felt. Like, the past few months have been easily the best time of my life, and I know that's not going to last forever. I know that that's going to eventually, there'll be a new depression, there'll be a new thing to catastrophize about, there'll be new anxieties to figure out. And you know, I'll just be able to say to myself, this isn't the end. You know, there's places to go from here, and there's development that needs to be done. And eventually I will find a new end, and that will last for a little bit, and I'll find a new best time of my life. Maybe one that'll be even better than this. And then that'll stop, and then that cycle will continue and continue and continue until I die. And I think if you can do that, if you can just keep conscious of your trajectory in life, you will get somewhere pretty interesting, even if you don't find like objective success, even if you don't find like, you know, monetary success or social success. But if you can find your own success where you can be proud of yourself for something that you've done, something that you've achieved, even if no one else gives a shit about it, you can be content and be happy with that. And that's what I would say to myself as a 17-year-old is, like, I was semi-proud of the things that I did, but no one really gave a shit about them, so I kind of downplayed the fact I was proud of them, which made me just sort of feel like I wasn't doing anything of worth. But, you know, I was, even if they weren't like great like films, even if they weren't great bits of video or anything like that, or any, you know, there was terrible music and all that sort of stuff. Why should it matter? Because like that stuff wouldn't exist if not for me. And even if it only reached one other person, even if it didn't reach anyone else, the potential for it to reach one other person, that is something that you can't buy with money. You know, that's only something that you can buy with brain power and putting some of your own conscience on the line for the sake of creativity. And yeah, I know my 17-year-old self wouldn't take any of this stuff to heart. They wouldn't be interested in what I have to say. It'd be like, you know when your parents tell you don't do something because I made that same mistake. You sort of hear them, but you don't listen to them, and you go and make the mistake anyway, because you have to make the mistakes. You have to like put your foot in the mud so that you can realize that mud is not nice to be like coated in. You have to throw yourself in the ocean in order to get wet. And then you need to dry yourself off. And you know when you dry yourself off after a bath, and then like you've got your dressing gown on, like you know, maybe you have some soup or something like that, with some nice toast. That's really nice. And you want to get to that point, right? But you're never going to get to that point if you don't chuck yourself into some like freezing cold water. So, you know, bad times are always going to happen, bad times will always come, but don't let them get in your way. And that's essentially what I would say to my 17-year-old self, because he let that sort of thing get to his head a lot. You know, I was always stressing about things I didn't need to stress about. I was always worrying about what people thought of me when I didn't need to. And, you know, I'm an all right person at the end of the day. Like, I'm not anything special, but I'm all right. So, you know, I think you're pretty all right as well, whoever you are. I don't know you personally, but I'm sure you're decent. So just remember that. Know that you're good. Know that you've got a good heart and you've got a reason to be here. You've got a purpose on this world. And even if you don't know what that is yet, you're on the path to figuring it out, and that's your current purpose, is figuring it out. And then once you figure it out, your new purpose is to, you know, actualize it. So yeah, please let me know in the comments below what you would say to your 17-year-old self. Maybe you are 17 and you don't know what you're going to do, and you're worried about like making the same mistakes as like your older brother or sister or whatever. But you know, there's a long road ahead of you, and it's going to be all right, because everything will always be all right in the end. And if it's not all right, it's not the end. Thank you so much for watching this video, everybody. Hope you have a good rest of the day. Take care, and bye-bye.